Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to Mentor Monday. Mentor Monday is your weekly microdose of encouragement, inspiration, and miracle grow on your potential as a coach. What we always do on this post-Thanksgiving edition, and we're in like 2 days before December starts. Christmas is around the corner. So excited about this time, and I hope you guys had an amazing week last week with family and friends. But let's get down to business, huh? How about you guys engage us right here on the chat? I'm over here in a studio in California, not interested in just simply being a talking head. And the only way that I can interact with you is if, besides me talking, is that you guys are active in the chat. So please tell us where you're joining us from and maybe one thing that you're excited about, what you feel life and momentum on. Hey, maybe you're just coming out of a lot of life over the last week, or maybe you're getting ready to make some dietary changes for the next couple of weeks because we overdid it. I know I'm still recovering from that this week. Let me say hello to a few people who are already saying hello to me. Militia from Ohio. Awesome. There's Karen from Delaware. Benjamin is joining us from New York. Welcome, Benjamin. Sierra is joining us from Tampa. And again, if you're just making it into the room, what we always do is that we always try to engage with you. And so, just a huge favor, let us know that you're here. That tells Facebook and YouTube that we're doing a good job when you're active in the chat. Also, if you would like this post and share it, because that also tells YouTube and Facebook that we're doing a good job, and it makes it actually appear on people's feeds when we're alive and when we're live and stuff like that. That would be super helpful. I'm excited about continuing this series with you tonight, and we're about to jump into it. But let me say hello to some more people who are saying hello to me. Tara from Las Vegas, super excited that I'm halfway through with my blended family course on Thinkific. Cool. Way to go, Tara. Anybody else that would like to say hello? If you would, just jump into the chat. Let us know where you're joining us from and what you're excited about this week before we jump in. All right. Well, let's do this thing, you guys. Let's see if I can get this thing off of here. There we go. All right, awesome. Well, a couple of weeks ago, we started this series because I really wanted to finish the year out strong. And we're in this series called The Disciplined Mind, How to Think Successfully. Why did we want to do this at the end of the year? Well, a lot of times at the end of the year, what I'll do is something that gets you ready for January. You know why? Because January is an amazing month for coaches because business is through the roof, which also should remind some of you guys, if you're procrastinating on this thing and you're like, well, maybe in a few months in 2023, then I'll get my business off the ground or I'll get trained and certified. You're actually missing some of the most profitable months out of the entire year if you don't actually act on it now. Not that you can't make something happen in April or May or whatever, because you can definitely do that. But I would highly encourage you, finish this year strong, and you can. All of our programs are self-paced with live training. That's also part of it as well. I'll talk to you more about that in a minute. But I'm highly encouraging you to jump in. I'm also encouraging you guys who are in my Jumpstart program, some of you who you've already gotten your training and certification out of the way. And if November has you getting lazy, if December has you getting lazy, that would be the crucial mistake that many of you coaches could be making in your business right now, is you can't pay attention to what everybody else is doing. I know my kids, or at least I have one kid left in school. She was out of school all last week. They used to only give us like 2 days for Thanksgiving. And you know what coaches normally do? Because they're not thinking like owners, they're thinking like employees. They take off weeks at a time. And they think, nobody's thinking about it. Nobody, you know what? Today's Cyber Monday. Some of you should have been on that. Friday was what? It was Black Friday. Some of you should have been on that. And so you've kind of missed some great opportunities that were happening in there. And so you can't take your cue from what other people are doing in the world who are just looking to just go into vacation mode. January is right around the corner. And so you got to be thinking about those things. Hey, I promise I wasn't actually going to teach you guys about that or train you guys, but I'm just giving you a reminder. You can't go to sleep over the next few weeks eating a bunch of turkey and letting it put you to night really early in the day or whatever. Like, you need to be paying attention to what you're doing right now actually impacts your January, which again, it's the number 2 month out of the year for coaches. It's a close second behind September because January is a no-brainer to actually sign new clients. Let me say hello to a few more people who are saying hello to me really quickly. There's Deborah joining us from Canada. Tina from Texas. Sierra says, Jumpstart is the best, but yes, it's super hard to stay focused because of the kids being home. Understood. All right, so we're going to jump in for real this time. What I said a couple of weeks ago, and I'm going to bring you back in time to a whiteboard that I already have, that I wrote on just a couple of times over the last couple of weeks. But one of the things that I was saying is that most people, if you look at this line at the bottom right here, this is where most people are living. Most people, when they go throughout their life, have a little bit of change in their thinking that's happening, but most of that effectively ends by the time they're a teenager. That thinking doesn't change just a ton. It changes a little bit, but honestly, if you follow that little green line that's on there, along with the black line, if this is someone's ultimate potential is right here, most people, they might make a little bit of progress in their life, but honestly, their thinking doesn't change a whole lot. And the other thing is that thoughts produce actions. And so since thoughts produce actions, you don't really see people taking action unless it's at least long-term action, unless something in their thinking actually changes. It's the only way that you can get real results in your life, and new results is you've got to have new thinking, but new thinking with new action. One of the things that I'd said over the last couple of weeks is that anything that you're wanting to be in, if you could see yourself in the future, which would be this right here, right? It would be your potential, what could be about your life. What we understand is anything that you're dreaming about is going to take different kinds of thoughts than what you're having right now. Why? Because your thoughts up to now have given you as much as you're going to get out of them. Like I said down here, your thinking's not going to change a whole lot in your life. You might change some opinions, but at the end of the day, there's not major. What I would say is that most people, unless they are just developing new skills, they usually don't make more money, at least not drastically more at a certain point. You're pretty much even, and we can watch this in most people's lives, they're pretty much where they are is where they will be, not a significant kind of leap, because the quantum leap that has to happen is up here. It's the way that we think. It's the way that it's in, and most thinking is habitual. That's why someone's going to be on this. So if you're going to have new action in your life, if you're going to have a new kind of life, you know what that means? You got to have higher thoughts than you're having right now. And you got to have better actions that you're taking in your life, and different actions that bring you into alignment with these things. So as we're finishing up this year, and of course, this weekend is advanced skills training, gives me a great excuse to talk about some of these things. How can you begin to discipline your mind? Why? Because again, most of us have undisciplined minds. We're thinking the same kinds of ways and we get the same kinds of results. And most thinking is habitual, which means that you had the same thought yesterday, the same thought the day before, the year before that. And if that's not bad enough, I mean, if it was getting us the results that we wanted, then fine, keep having those thoughts. But since we're not getting the results that we want, we've got to have new thinking. And so one of those things that I wanted, that I was really thinking about over the last couple of weeks, is this whole idea around decision making. And I'd said, even in the email that I sent out to you guys, and I'd posted it, if you find yourself slow to make a decision, if you find yourself procrastinating on making decisions, if you find yourself indecisive and kind of stuck in the process of making a decision, or if you struggle to actually make up your mind between a couple of things, like you make up your mind, but you're second guessing yourself the entire time, and you usually end up withdrawing after you made that initial decision, then what it's telling me, and what it should tell you, is that we need a little help in this area. And I believe that this is all coming out of habitual thinking that we have in our life, because most all thought thinking is habitual. If you're struggling in the decision-making area, then you've probably been having a challenge making decisions for a really, really long time. Some people make decisions much more easily than others. And how can we become more effective how can we make decisions quicker? Because here's the thing, is we're talking about a disciplined mind, which means that there should be a better way of doing this, and you should be able to make quick decisions. You should be able to make quick and effective decisions. Some of you are like, well, a quick decision doesn't sound like a whole lot of wisdom. Well, that's probably that could be wisdom talking there, but it could also be fear talking. How many people do we know that make much bigger decisions and are making a much bigger imprint on the world than we are? And they're making them very quickly. It doesn't mean that they are ill-informed, is that they have grown to a place where they are so used to, they've disciplined themselves to make decisions, and they're also confident enough to make decisions so that, in the same way, you have to understand, there are people right now that when we go up to, let's say we go up to the line in Starbucks and we're trying to make up our mind between a couple of things, and we make a decision after about a minute or two because we can see that the person behind the counter is getting kind of irritated, and we finally make a decision. Do you realize that there's people who are making decisions like that are in the amounts of thousands, even millions of dollars, and they're making quick decisions like that? How do you get to that place? Well, it's effective decision making, and it's quick. And it's quick because there's a lot of confidence and there's a lot of use that's happening. Because we have to understand that the difference between someone who is disciplined and undisciplined is all about use. It's about being effective, that you've done it enough where now you've got confidence to do it. But what I want to give you tonight is 5 questions that you can ask yourself that'll help you get more effective, so that I know that some of you are like, telling you to make a decision faster is not necessarily going to make you, and trying to pump you up with a lot of confidence about things or whatever, you can do it kind of speeches and everything are not really going to help you. But if you're finding yourself indecisive about something, I believe there's 5 questions that you can ask that can help you make a quicker, more effective decision. And then once you do it, then now you'll start aligning your life so that you can do it a lot faster in the future. Here's question number 1 that I want to give you, though. Question number 1 is, what story do I want to tell? Because this is really, really important. What story do I want to tell? And why is this such an important thing? Because I believe that most of you who are sitting here on this talk tonight want to make an impact. You want to change the world. And just as much as you want to change the world, you want your own world to change around you. You want your daily life to be a different experience than what you are having right now. I think most of us could agree with that. And the way that most of us think about our life changing, because what I find that most coaches say, people who are aspiring to become coaches and they go through our school or they reach out, in most cases, people want more freedom in their life. And freedom's usually expressed by most people in terms of, well, if I have more time and if I have more money, which if I have time and money, what does the time and money do? Seems to open up the options, right? And here's what I want you to understand. First thing that I want you to understand in that is this, is that the most powerful thing, because people are wanting to be powerful people and have more freedom. Here's the thing, is that the most powerful thing that you can do in your life right now is to make a choice. You are a powerful person. And most of you probably don't give yourself credit, because a lot of times people are like, well, if I can break into coaching, if I can do this thing now, I'm going to have more freedom. I can be more generous and I can do some of the things that I want to do. Well, here's the thing. What I could say to you is, oh, well, you can start making those decisions right now, couldn't you? And some of you would say, well, no, I don't have enough money and I don't have enough time. Well, here's the thing, is that there's something more powerful that you have right now than time and money. Some of you are waiting on time and money. Well, that's not the most powerful thing that you have. Actually, what most people want is more freedom in their life. It's usually in the form of time and money, but you have to understand is that choices is what equals freedom. You are a blessed and very powerful person if you have the ability to choose. I know there's some people in the world right now that do not have a choice, but if you're watching me right now, I know that you have infinite choice in your life because you're here right now. You could click off this video. Some of you might. Some of you might sit around and watch it in that form alone. No one's making you do anything. Why? Because out of an act of your will, you made a choice and you didn't even think about it. You're making thousands of choices every day in your life right now that some people don't have the ability to make a choice about. They can't make any new kind of decision. You can make one. We have to understand that choices is what equals freedom, not money and not time, because nobody's making you do anything that you're doing right now. At the end of the day, even if you think, well, if I said, well, go do this, and you say, well, I can't do that. Well, who's saying that you can't? You've submitted yourself somewhere, but you've submitted your choice somewhere. So the employer that you're working for, the marriage that you're in, the relationships that you have, the friends and everything else, you know that you actually have a choice, but you've chosen to submit your choice. You've submitted your decision-making power wherever you're at, but at any given point that you can actually take that back and you can make a new choice. So your problem's not actually a freedom issue. It's what are you doing with the power that you have? And you have to ask a really important question, which is, what story do you want to tell? Because you are writing your story right now with the choices that you make. How do I know that? Well, here's how we'll know it. Let's go 3 months ago. We're at the end of November right now. So basically, what we're looking at is August, September, October. Well, we're probably looking in September, right? So September to where we are in November, if we went back 90 days and I sat down with you and I asked you, who are you going to be hanging out with this week for Thanksgiving? You're going to tell me. Even if you haven't made plans yet, you could probably tell me who you were hanging out with, what car you would be driving. You could probably tell me how much money you made last week, 3 months ago. And you know what you also could have done? You could have told me what meals you were going to eat, because you probably ate nothing that was particularly surprising last week. You know what that's telling me? That you have great power in your life and you actually get what you choose. It's a very predictable life because you're a powerful person. And so what happens for a lot of people is that they want something new, but they keep choosing the same things over and over again. How can you want something new if you keep choosing predictability? Why do people choose predictability? Well, it's comfortable. It's easy. There's nothing uncertain in it. And so we keep choosing the same kinds of things. Even though we want something different, we sometimes, frankly, make excuses for why we don't have something different. Listen, if you're going to have something different, is this the life that you want? What story do you want to tell? That's the important question with any decision that you have facing you. Now, I know that you have different size decisions. You know, not every decision is what you want for lunch, but we're talking about destiny kinds of things. And most of you who are on this video with me, you want something bigger in your life. What story do you want to tell? You got to choose a different narrative. You got to have a different choice to get into your next chapter. Listen, would most people want to read your story? I mean, you may not want to read your own story if it's the same story. It's the same person who does the same predictable things. Why would you even read that story? But we write that story and we wonder why we're dissatisfied with our lives. So you're a very powerful person. And here's the thing is that giving you freedom, giving you more money, giving you more time does not mean that you're going to choose anything different in your life. What you really have to do then is that the key to having more options, because that's what we're really talking about, right? The key to having more options in your life is that you've got to steward the options that you do have right now. What choices could you make? I understand. Like tomorrow, you're like, my dream has always been to go to Rome, and take a picture here or see this or whatever. I understand that maybe tomorrow you can't, it's not like tomorrow that you could necessarily make that decision, right? But I bet you could make a decision right now that gets you closer to Rome than what you're probably going to choose tomorrow. I mean, what we have to understand is that I have options today. What choices have you been unwilling to make right now? For whatever reason. Because you're the most powerful person in your life right now, because nobody takes your choices away. You submit your choices or you make your choices. And at the end of the day, whatever bed we lie in is the one that we have chosen. It truly is. I want this to inspire you. I don't want you to feel like you're getting beat over the head. I'm saying you need to take your power and you need to do something with it if you're not satisfied with the life that you have. See, because what I really believe is that every one of us who are sitting right here are one decision from a completely different life than what we're actually living right now. That's what we really have to understand. Any major change that you've ever had in your life, it was one decision that changed everything, you know, from moving somewhere to taking on a new job. If it was a major change, it was getting married or whatever we've chosen. You ever notice that we had one decision that we made that made major earth-shaking changes? Now, sometimes those decisions have, you know what? Maybe we're not able to make decisions now because we're afraid that we're going to make wrong decisions because we've made wrong decisions in the past. Listen, the decisions that you've made in the past, if they were the wrong decision, they didn't work out well, someone didn't keep their promises on the other end, should not make you fearful for the future decisions. It should actually just make you wiser. I don't want you playing a smaller game because something didn't go right and now we live under the lid of fear, under a ceiling of fear. That's a terrible way to live. It's today is to come into this place and say, you know what, one decision can make all the difference in the world. Think about it for some of you who have kids. You ever you ever wish that you could just, for those of you who have kids, you ever wish you could just open your heart and show it to your kids and say, this is what I'm really thinking, and this is what I'm really feeling, and this is what I wish you knew about yourself so that you don't have to go this path, that you could make one decision, it would change everything. You ever feel like that as a parent, that you just, it's like your kids don't quite get you, they don't quite understand, and in some ways they don't trust you, in some ways they think that they know better, maybe they think that your advice is outdated, or that they don't know all of your intentions, they don't know what path that you've walked and all of that other stuff. You just wish you could just open your heart and then they could see everything, and then they knew, and they also knew that you would never be disappointed in them if they failed, if they made a choice that was really big, and if they had some setbacks that they can keep going for it, that thing. Well, I wish I could turn my heart inside out right now so that you would understand the exact same thing for yourself, is that you're not going to be destroyed by your own choices if you're aligned properly making them, but you might actually be limiting your potential and your impact on this planet if you don't make some of those choices. How many stories have we heard of people who were leading the world in some kind of an industry, but they wouldn't make choices, and they wouldn't change, and so it costs them everything? We could go down the line. How many of you remember Blockbuster Video? Do you remember that? Do you remember going to video stores? That used to be the leader. You'd see that big old ticket on the logo and everything else. They don't exist anymore. You remember when Netflix started? I don't know if you guys remember Netflix starting. When Netflix started, they were sending DVDs in the mail, 2 at a time. And I was an early adopter of Netflix because I was like, this is beating the system on Blockbuster. That's how long they've been around. And now they've adapted, and they are the only streaming service that's actually making money right now. They're making their own content instead of using other people's and all of this other stuff. What happened is that they saw an opportunity. They got in, they were in competition, but then they saw the world that was changing and everything else. And then they started making bold decisions, not only to stay competitive and to make money, but to actually lead in a particular industry. We know all of these different stories. You have to know that the people who are movers and shakers in the world are making big decisions. So if you want to live a bigger story, you're probably going to have to make bigger, more significant decisions than you've been willing to make. These are not just lunchtime decisions. These are not just menu decisions. Those are decisions that we make every day, and they don't always move things forward. I'm saying that there are decisions right now that you need to ask the question, what story do I want to tell? Which is going to require you to make bigger decisions. It's going to require more of you, and it's going to push you to places you've never been before. And you know what? When you get used to making these kinds of choices, it starts to become normal, and it doesn't feel like a big decision anymore. This is the unwillingness to make those kinds of choices is what's keeping you in here. There was a time for all of you, even if you're risk averse. Some of you have made bigger decisions, sometimes when you were unwilling, but something actually pushed you forward and forced you to make the decision. And you know what? You grew up, you changed, you developed, you transformed, and you found out what was actually in here. This is how we get to potential, is that we've got to make bigger decisions than we're making right now, and new decisions that are in line with the story that we want to tell. Here's the second thing that I would say along with this of the questions. What's most important? I'm hearkening back to what I talked about just here recently, but I'm going to remind you because these things do kind of overlap, and so I want you to get what this is. If you can't make a quick decision, the the reason why you can't make a quick decision is really not about information. Some of you are like, man, if I had enough information about this, then I could make a quick decision. No, what actually makes you indecisive is that you don't know what's most important in your life. I will tell you to go back that week that we're talking about clarity. I'll even tell you to go back a few more weeks when I talk about values and getting clear about what's most important to you. I have tools, all of that stuff that I've already given you guys in the past. When you know what's most important, it makes it crystal clear what you should do every time. If someone's indecisive, they don't know what's most important, and it's making them feel conflicted. If you're in conflict over a decision, you don't know what's most important, go back to what's most important. Now it's really clear of what you're going to do or you're not going to do. Let me give you a really simple example of that. Simple example. If you are married and someone hits on you at a bar somewhere, and they hit on you and they invite you to dance or a drink or any of those other things, there's something that comes up in you. You know what it is? It's a value system. It's what's most important. And you think of your spouse and you think this is not even an option. So it makes a decision really crystal clear. This is what we're talking about. Is when you know what's most important, when you know who you are, it actually eliminates a lot of the negative options and it makes it really clear which way that you're supposed to go. This is how we get clear about what it is that we need to do to move forward. See, when you get clear what's most important, you'll never be indecisive again. Question 3 that I want you guys to ask. Question 3 is this: what's my gut on this? What is your gut telling you? And there's a reason why I say trust your gut in this. You know why? Because some of you get into this information gathering stage, and you know what ends up happening? Information gathering bogs you down and it saps your confidence. You know how you get confidence in making decisions? Because you make a lot of them. And the more decisions that you make, the more confident that you grow in. Now, I'm not saying that you don't do any kind of information gathering, because that makes sense. But what you have to understand is that most people, if you understand what your gut is that your first impression is typically what you end up doing anyway. I don't know if you guys have noticed this. Most of the decisions that we make are identical to what our first gut impression is. So you know what that means that we've got to do? It means that you need to fortify your first impressions. What do I mean by that? First of all, with my first impression, I need to know what's most important. I need to know who I am. And I need to make sure that whatever is going on in me, if I have fears, if I have limiting beliefs, that those things are not choosing for me. I need to make sure that wisdom is what is actually choosing for me and what my gut is saying, not fear. And there's some people who confuse fear and wisdom. So some of the big decisions that you need to make that would really alter your story, you know what? Those are going to make your fears come up. It makes them come to the surface every time. And so fears can't make the decision for us. Your gut always, in most every case, knows what you're supposed to be doing. But we just got to make sure that our gut response is not a response out of fear and avoiding possible failure. And so again, do you know what's most important? Do you know what story that you want to tell? And what's your gut? Because you got to begin to trust your gut, because the more information that you get, the more you're going to have analysis paralysis. You're going to have so much information that's out there in front of you, and actually gathering information was never going to give you confidence to make the decision moving forward anyway, in most cases. Question 4 is this. Question 4 is this decision undermining my success? Because this is a really important question that we need to ask, because no one has undermined your success quite like you have. I know sometimes that we've had different people who have opposed us, that have undermined us, have made it difficult or whatever. No one has undermined our own success like we have ourselves. And so, what we have to do is that whatever decision that we're getting ready to make or not make, because not making a decision is actually making a decision. Some of the decisions that you guys have been unwilling to make that would make for a different story, a lot of times we need to just ask this heart to heart. You've got to be honest with yourself. This is about the integrity question with yourself. If I don't make this decision, is this going to undermine my success? If I make this different decision, is it going to undermine? Am I self sabotaging right now because I'm not willing to make the decision that I should be making? It's about being in integrity. It's about asking these questions. Take account of the personal impact any decision that you are making is going to have in your own life. Question number 5, and this is the way we finish up. How quickly can I make this decision? You know why I say how quickly? Because and you actually need to set a time limit, and there's a reason why you set a time limit. Because time limits are all about making your decision based on what is most important in your life. And when you know what's most important, it's going to make it a ton easier to make a decision. But here's the other thing that I would say about it. There's a thing called Parkinson's law. Parkinson's law is that I'll sum it up for you. A month-long decision is going to take a month. A 2-week decision is going to take 2 weeks. A 1-week decision is going to take 1 week. A 1-day decision is going to take 1 day. A 1-hour decision is going to take 1 hour. Here's the thing that I'll say out of all the research and everything else. Most of you are going to, if you were going to make a decision, the best decision would have been the one that was about your story. It was the one that was about what was most important. And it was also what your gut was telling you to do in the first place. And so this is one thing that I always find, even with aspiring coaches. You know what they'll say? When there's an event coming up and we have a training coming up, you know how often we'll get that question? Well, how long do I have to decide? Well, what are we trying to decide? Because here's the thing, is that everybody, even if they decide, they wait to the very last minute. You ever notice that when your kids have a whole month to work on a project and they're waiting until the night before to work on it? You know what that is? That is human nature that's at work right there. That's what Parkinson's law is about. That the more time that someone's giving, the incredible ability that we have to procrastinate and actually avoid making the decision. This is why in the very beginning, we should ask this question: how quickly can I make this decision? Honestly, when you know what's most important, when you know what story you want to tell, when you are trusting your gut, when you've grown in confidence in this kind of a way, now we can begin to make decisions very quickly. And so, what I would say is the least amount of time possible. That's what you should actually choose. If you guys are waiting a month to do something, it's going to take you a month. If you're not giving yourself deadlines, you'll probably never make the decision, because that's what procrastination does for you. Limit the research that you are making. You know what? I understand if you want to research, get a little bit more information that's out there, go for it. But we have to understand, again, research is just going to disable your confidence. Give yourself a little bit, but how much longer do you need to actually research? How much longer do you actually need to think about something? Really, you don't. You don't even need to look in your budget. You know why? Because everybody knows how much money they have in the bank account. From the richest to the poorest, they know what they can afford. That's always a procrastination tactic to keep you from actually making a decision. I'm calling you forward to live into this life that you say that you want to live. And the way that we do it is, again, knowing what kind of story that we want to tell, knowing what's most important in our life. It's also making shortening the time span between start to actually finishing and making a decision. Is learning to trust your gut as you go along in this thing, because you know what's most important already, and that you can trust yourself to actually grow and develop a sense on what kinds of decisions that you need to make. Quit giving in to predictability. You want a new life, you got to make bigger decisions. You got to make more life-changing kinds of decisions. You can't have life change without life-changing decisions. Some of you are tiptoeing around and you're making the smallest decisions that you possibly can make, and you're hoping for a life to change this much, and it's just not going to happen. I understand. How could you get started? Well, get started with any decision that's challenging you right now. I'm not telling you to go and sell your house or to sell your car and ride a bicycle. Like, I'm not telling you to do anything crazy. But you can start now. What decisions right now are you putting off? What choices have you been putting off and procrastinating on? I would say those are the choices that you start with right now. Those are the ones that are facing you. That you won't make a decision. So not making a decision is actually making things worse for you and more uncomfortable. And then after that, then it becomes really clear. You know what's most important and you know what you need to do. Hey, for those of you who have already gotten trained and certified as coaches, I want to invite you and remind you that this weekend is Advanced Skills Training. It's December 2nd and 3rd. So it's only Friday night and it's all day Saturday. What are we doing in Advanced Skills Training? Well, it's a little bit different training than what we normally do. When I do training, in most cases, there's a lot of lecture and then there's a Q&A usually that we do and exercises and all this. This is a little bit different. Friday night, I'm going to teach you about where belief systems come from. How does thinking originate? How does your brain operate? Why is it important to know? Because if you're going to help someone get breakthrough in their life and really transform their thinking, you need to know how this thing works. You need to know how habits have formed. You want to know what the master system that actually chooses for people, those default mechanisms that kind of pop out of someone, the habits and all of these other things. Where does it come from? That's what you're going to learn on Friday night. We're going to talk about how that actually gets under the skin of your DNA and how you can actually help your clients step outside of themselves. And really what you do is that you hack the master system. I'm going to show you how you can put processes in place to help someone figure out what their limiting beliefs are, to actually detect exactly where the problems are, and help them get lasting change in their life. So Friday night starts that, and all day Saturday, what we do is that you learn the tools of breakthrough, and you're trying them out on yourself because it's experiential. And we're talking about sticking places for people like imposter syndrome or bad money beliefs, perfectionism, self-sabotage, lies like I'm not enough, irrational fears, all of these things, anything that is a barrier to someone up here that's keeping them from being able to move forward, these cycles that people find themselves in, any of these things that you're experiencing in your life right now, what I find is that our coaches actually get breakthrough over the course of these weekends as well, because you're going to be utilizing the tools on yourself. You know, what you're going to walk away with are some skills that can really help you transform not only your own life, but your clients' lives. You're going to help a client pinpoint their limiting beliefs. You're going to learn brain hacks to remove barriers and self-sabotaging systems. Your clients are going to grow in self-worth. They're going to eliminate procrastination. They're going to conquer irrational fears. And you're also going to learn a formula to unlock maximum potential. What's included? Well, it's 10 plus hours of training. So what we do is you're going to, part of it is lecture, but a lot of that is actually learning what the components of the master system, what are the primary drivers inside of a human being that seem to program us and actually start making decisions for ourselves. We're going to show you how to hack those things. And then we're going to give you the tools and you're going to practice on yourself. And then we always come back and have an experiential, basically a clinical time through each of the tools as we progress throughout that Saturday. Everything is fully online, and that would be a $19.95 value for the 10 plus hour training. You also get access to all of the replays from that weekend. You're going to get the tools, because I always say what happens after the event is more important than what happened at the event. And you're also going to earn a new credential, which is our CPC credential, Certified Professional Coach credential. So not only is that going to make you a better coach, but it's also going to increase your marketability. So for those of you who've already earned your credential, if you haven't earned your CLC, you can't join us this weekend. I'm sorry. But if you have already earned your certified life coach credential, you can get enrolled for this weekend. The cost is only $247. There is a payment plan for some of you who are like, $247. I just spent a bunch of money on Black Friday. Give yourself this gift because you're going to be a better coach and you're going to be able to market yourself in a better way than what you've been able to do so far. Now, for those of you who have not gotten trained and certified yet, here's the route that I would recommend to you. Our Jumpstart program is $97 a month with a 3-month minimum commitment. Not only do you get all of this business development help that I'm getting ready to talk about, but you do get trained and certified. As a matter of fact, what we lighted up just a few weeks ago was our new Tuesday night live training. So what we do is that we walk you through all of the modules of the life coach certification course on Tuesdays. There's live Q&As, there is role playing, and so you have all of this opportunity to connect with me, but also to connect with other coaches who are at the same level as you. Now, this program is still self-paced, so you can do that on your own schedule and you can knock things out as quickly as you would like or as deliberately as you like. We just want to make sure that you're not on your own trying to make this thing happen. In January, there's our live coaching bootcamp. That is the weekend that we do. That is basically the life coach certification course. Like we put a bunch of jet fuel in it and then we just take off on a Friday and we end Sunday. You have access to that when you join Jumpstart. Brain Camp is 13 hours of training where we bring you from the very beginning. How do you discover your niche? How do you discover your target market? And how do you build your website out? How do you write copy? How do you write an email? We bring you through all of the steps of branding so that you can actually communicate in a really relevant, clear way to your clients. And it also opens the door to your business. Most branding that I see out there for coaches is atrocious, and it's not actually helping them open the door for their business. This is what Brand Camp is all about. You get this course included in Jumpstart. You also get the coaching product launch blueprint. We take you from zero. We help you brainstorm your business and what you could be offering to your clients. And we end up grabbing one, and you can do multiple because you can go through it multiple times, but we end up grabbing one strong product idea and we walk you through how do you develop a coaching program around that product and bring it all the way from infancy to launch. And that includes your social media posts, your lead magnets, all of those other kinds of things. I walk you through step by step. We take you by the hand to do all of these things. That's what our Jumpstart program is really about. Jumpstart is about not only training and certification, but it's about a community of coaches who are brilliant and support one another. Because we do a group call every Wednesday that's live, and what do is that we celebrate wins of the week. We find out what people are having challenges with. We give feedback on anything that you're working on. Because what I've found is that the coaches who are truly successful in the world were not just great business people or anything else. What they were is that they were passionate about helping other people. They needed the steps and a roadmap to help them succeed, and they had support of people who understood what they were doing, their purpose. They were purpose-driven people, but they also had the community of support of people who were either just ahead of them or that were walking alongside and doing it. And so that's what our Jumpstart program was designed to be from day one when we launched it in 2016, and it's grown exponentially. There's so much information. You won't use it all, but we want to make sure that you know what your steps are and that you don't have to do this by yourself. This program is easily a $10,000 program. We know that. There's no other schools who are doing everything that we do for this price point. It's ridiculous. $97 a month with a 3-month minimum commitment. And you can enroll. There's a link inside the description of this video, and you can join us even for Tuesday night training tomorrow, or join us on Wednesday for our group coaching call. All right, let me say hello to some people who said hello to me while all of that was going on. Hey, there's Sandy from New Jersey. There's Amy from Texas. Welcome, Amy. Maritza says, I had to realize I can come first and that the world won't fall apart if I do what I desire to better myself. Absolutely. And there's the Coaching MG. Welcome. Sandy says, I was procrastinating for years. And over the turkey weekend, I signed in Jumpstart and I'm actually enjoying it. And I don't know what I was afraid of all this time. No more stinking thinking. I'm learning so much. And over the past few days, have been actively doing the work. Way to go, Sandy. So good. Hey, there's Corrine. She says, Happy Monday. It's Corrine in Arizona. I'm excited about creating more content for the month of December, January, and I'm working on my ebook. Way to go. Awesome. Let's see. Who else do I need to say hello to really quickly? Sierra says, I'm pretty new here. I finished my certification and I'm enrolled in Jumpstart right now. Welcome. So good. Let's see. Who else do I need to say hello to? There's Karen. Hey, Karen. Who else do I need to say hello to? Corrine says, Jumpstart helped me make the decision to niche down from women empowerment coaching to a relationship coach for couples in romantic relationships. I love everything about Jumpstart. Thank you. Corrine says, I will be at Advanced Skills Training too. And Tara's joining us. It's so good. Corrine says, Paul will definitely help you get unstuck and get clear. Wait until you go through brain camp. It blew my mind. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. Green's talking about Jim Rohn's law of diminishing intent. I need to look at that. I can't think of it off the top of my head. All right. And I see a thank you. Always great information. Good night, everyone. Thank you. Appreciate that. Bobby says, if you're in Jumpstart, make the time to get on the Wednesday call. Thank you. All right, everyone. Well, I don't see any other questions or anything. Listen, I appreciate you guys all immensely. You're amazing. Hey, reminder, you can get enrolled. The link is inside the description. If you've gotten certified and you have not done advanced skills training, you can also click that link to at least get to our website and you can get enrolled for this weekend. We'll start on Friday. We'll be done by Saturday night. It's going to be an amazing weekend. It's going to be very powerful and life changing. And I don't know. I'm excited about spending that weekend with our coaches and seeing you guys get the upgrade to your skills so that you can help more people. So anyway, listen, I appreciate you guys a ton. Have a great rest of your weekend. Take care.